Greetings, teammates. I pray you are well. I'm Tim Morton with Southeast Michigan FCA, and I'm excited to bring to you another Testimony Tuesday, where we like to create a platform for others to share their powerful stories of transformation. You know, every story has a hero, a villain, a victim, and a guide. And Jesus Christ was and still is to this day the greatest hero maker ever. I'm sure you would agree with me that we have enough villains and victims out there, and we need more hero makers. And so the only way for that to happen is we need to have an intentionality of our own spiritual disciplines, but also a willingness to share the faithfulness of God in our lives. And so I'm excited to bring onto our stage Curt Rienas, who is the head football coach at Romeo High School. Curt, I'll bring you on. Welcome.
Good to be here, Tim.
Honored to have you with us. And I'm just going to share real quickly about how we got connected. Good friend of ours, Pastor Steve Barkey, him and I were in another group together, Bible study, and he invited me into this time because he heard I was involved with FCA. And at that time, you guys were meeting at 5:30 in the morning in Romeo. And I live in Rochester Hills, so that's about 25 minute ride. So it's a 5 a.m. get up for me to get out there. But I was so glad that I had a chance to sit in that little corner table and start to hear what was going on up there and get to meet you and a few of the other guys that are out there. And it's just kind of grown. So I'm going to give you a chance to share a little bit about that, our time out in Romeo and how that's worked and our relationship before we dive in.
Yeah, I talk about an absolute a blessing that, you know, that group has been going really since 2016. And, you know, we've had a number of guys that have kind of came and joined us, and some people's work schedules don't allow for that early. But that group's really grown. And, you know, to have guys like you to do life with, man, is it just it's so valuable. And, you know, just the growth that I think we've all had and, you know, with God's guiding, but, you know, iron sharpening iron. And it's just been a real blessing to have you a part of that. You know, when I think back to when we first met, it just seems like I've known you forever. And, you know, with our common themes of, you know, passion for Christ and coaching, and, you know, a dad of daughters, like there's a lot that you've shared that I probably haven't even told you that I've learned and gleaned from it. And I hope it's been likewise that I've been able to share some things as well. But it's been a real blessing to have you in my life.
Well, it's likewise. And as we always say, Proverbs 27:17, as one man sharpens another, iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another, you know. And I love our sharpening sessions up in Romeo. It's just been, you guys are all part of my story and my growth. So it's been mutual. It's been really cool to see the growth in you and those that have been a part of the group, and how the group is kind of organically moved in different directions. People have come and gone, but there's always been that core group that's been intentional about getting together. And why we get together is why it's so impactful for me. It's always going to be about praying for each other. It's always going to be about being in God's word. It's always going to be about how are we going to be able to go out and apply this in our daily lives. And so it's just been a cool journey with you. But I want to give you an opportunity to share with everyone, you know, how did you come into this relationship with Jesus Christ initially? And then I got a couple other questions. So I'm going to step aside, give you the floor, and give you a chance to share.
Yeah, you know, I'm really blessed to have grown up in an amazing church, Armada Methodist Church. Both my parents were very involved. My mom was a choir director and Sunday school teacher. My dad was on the trustees. And, you know, everybody at that church was aunt and uncles for me. And I had a lot of cousins that weren't really my cousins, but I guess my cousins and faith. So I was blessed just as long as I can remember being a part of that church and having a lot of people modeling for me what it means to follow Christ. And, obviously as a kid, the depth of that relationship is not what it is today. And, there's been a lot of defining moments over the years where I felt like, I know in our morning group, we've talked a lot about leveling up, where I feel like I have leveled up my relationship with Christ. And maybe it's just I've been more obedient at times. I know a lot of it was just surrendering myself and parts of my life to Christ, and just seeing what he can do in your life has been amazing. Going through high school, I would say that I was a very faithful person to the Lord, and my inner circle knew that. I don't know that I was necessarily sharing it to the rest of the world. And kind of the same in college. And then returning back to my hometown in Romeo, I can remember one of those events that really, I would say, was one of those leveling up events. Pastor Glanville had given a sermon that just really challenged my thinking on how just miraculous the Lord was. And I felt like maybe I was holding back of surrendering myself fully to the Lord. And in 2012, I can remember the exact pew where I was sitting at the Romeo Methodist Church now. And it was before the service started. And I was just having some time with me and the Lord. And I just said, God, test me. I want to show you that I fully have given my life to you, and I'm faithful. And I know that I'm in good hands with you. And I don't even know how to explain it, but it was just this overwhelming sensation of, are you sure? And I'm like, I'm in. And I definitely got this sensation of like, I'm going to test this in you now. You've asked it, you relinquished it. And, it was almost like he was going to see if I was as faithful as I said I was. And I'll tell you what, man, there were some tests after that, if I didn't have this feeling and sensation that the Lord, it was almost like he said, I'm going to be with you in this, but I'm going to allow some things to happen in your life that are going to really challenge you. But I always had this kind of reassurance that he was there with me. And if I didn't have that, it would have been tough making it through those. Within probably like a year and a half's time, my wife was a teacher and cheer coach, had ruptured a vocal cord and had to have vocal surgery. And they just didn't know if she would ever really regain her voice. And, having somebody live in your house who verbally can't communicate with you, and you've been doing that forever, was a lot to work through, and not knowing whether she would return to teaching and coaching. My father was diagnosed with a large brain tumor. I had to get back surgery. My wife's grandpa, who was kind of a father to her, was put in the hospital, diagnosed with terminal cancer. And they're just another really big family event that was kind of dividing my siblings. And just a lot of it was coming at once. And I just remember the person I was going through that was not who I would have guessed I was. I was a much better version, knowing that God had kind of preempted that you will be challenged, but just stay faithful and everything will be the way it's intended by his will. And, really through 2012 through 2014 was a lot of those obstacles that, just really gave me a perspective. I don't know, without faith in the Lord, how people go through one or many of these just major moments in life. And I was really grateful that, he was there with me. And kind of the 2000 going into 2015, I'm getting ready we're already in the first week of football, and our principal calls and leaves a message on my voicemail that unfortunately they're going to have to change my teaching schedule. And needless to say, I had gained a couple preps that I had never taught before, and we're in the middle of football. So things are in high gear there, and I didn't have a lot of time to prep. So it was kind of a hectic year. So I'm navigating that school year. We got football going on. I was coaching my daughter's 10-year-old basketball team. So a lot of days I would leave practice at around 5:45, get home, take her to basketball practice, come home, and then I would have to run and get my oldest daughter from dance. And, not getting dinner until 9:45, 10 o'clock at night was tough. And I just remember I got to a point where I actually had to reach out to the Lord. And I was walking my dog one evening, and I just broke down. I laid on the side of a hill in our sub and just said, God, I've been obedient, but I'm struggling. I really, really need your help. And I was in full tears laying there, and I don't have anything left in me. And just as clear as can be, the way he communicated, like he's like, I got you. Things will be all right. And, I remember thinking like, I'm going to have to cut back somehow in football because I just can't keep doing all this. And he made it extremely clear, things will be all right. And I remember almost even kind of questioning, like, what does all right mean? And he let me know, like, hey, like, you guys are going to win a state championship this year. And I just remember this extremely confident in his message that he's got me, continue to have faith. You've had faith. And even to the point why he revealed to me what the outcome was going to be. And he did. And we end up winning a state championship, the first in our school's history. And it was just an amazing event for our community. But some of the amazing things that came after that, I think, was maybe why he kind of gave me the little nod, like, I'm going to give you a little bit more of what's going to happen. Is, in a pep assembly after the state championship in front of our whole school, they're honoring us with the state championship trophy. And I was able to share that moment with God. And then from there, I was asked to be our baccalaureate speaker. And I got to share a message about God. And then churches and other sports programs wanted me to come in to speak. And I was able to share more about my experience with God. And I definitely, in those moments of sharing, I felt like I was continuing to grow more and more in my faith. And really in 2016, after some of those speeches, is when our mornings men's group, I had reached out to who I thought were pivotal leaders in our community and asked them to join us for a Thursday morning meeting. And we've been meeting ever since. And simultaneously, I started asking key kids in our building that were involved with different sports teams to join. And we kind of pitched this idea of a youth group for our athletes. And a lot of them initially were just like, they weren't sure where they were at in their faith. And they wanted to include the entire student body. So we did. And, that group's still meeting on Wednesday mornings. And some of the cool things that's kind of came out of that is some of the kids who I think were not sure where they were at, I think believed in God, but maybe didn't have a relationship with him. Over the last 2 years, some of those students have come back and been guest speakers at our baccalaureate and just showing where God has moved in their lives. And I think that was maybe a pivotal moment for them of bringing their peers together and providing an opportunity for them to grow. And, I just feel like the more I surrender and release things to God, the more he's going to find a way to use me. And you start to see the fruits of his work through me and others. So that's kind of where I'm at today.
Wow. That was powerful, brother. I saw a lot of great themes within that. I saw a broken man that was crying out. And I'm sure you were reading some Psalms during that time because, when it's coming at us at all different areas, and we ask that dangerous prayer like you asked, the Lord wants to use us, but he's only going to use the people that are broken and contrite heart and just say, I'm surrendering this to you, and show up. So giving you the vision of a state championship run, equipping you to do that and lead that community in that way. And then you not saying, well, then, it could have been all about you, Curt, but because you were humble enough to run to him on that hill that day, he says, this is the way I'm going to give you a platform to make me known. And the reason that he did that for you is because he knew you'd be faithful to what he was been faithful to. And so, man, I'm just honored to hear that story. I know it's going to move some people out there, because everybody's going through something. We know this. Just because we profess to be a believer doesn't mean those things are stopping. But we can endure. And it's really all about that. It's just about enduring the day. And how cool is it to see young people be empowered to own their faith, and you creating a platform to allowing them to do that. You see, you're doing FCA at Romeo before you even knew about FCA. So it's really, you're just taking the initiative, and man, that's inspiring. That was powerful. I hope you were listening in. And our prayer is always that it touches at least one person. If you are a man or a woman that would love to be more part of our ministry and hear more about what we can do and how you can be involved, please reach out to us. But until we meet again, this is Tim Morton with Southeast Michigan FCA, where our mission is to lead every coach and athlete into a growing relationship with Jesus Christ and his church. God bless.